What is up everybody, my name is Tyler Potts and welcome back to another video. And in this video we're going to be creating a project slider, so like a carousel slash image slider, but more with it's going to be fully animated using CSS, keyframes, transitions and JavaScript. And this is it, and it's dynamic content, so you can add in your own content. You could pull this from a database if you wanted to, etc. So for this, it's actually just a project. So you've got project 1, project 2, and project 3. I don't have a button here, but you could add in a CTA here which said read more or something, where it would open up your latest or whatever this is. Anyway, so let's get straight onto this. But before we start, we're going to be using Sass. I'm going to be using the Sass terminal. So I'm going to be writing stuff like this here. So I'm going to say Sass, build Sass there, sort of thing. And to do this, you do need to install Sass to your machine. And to do so, you need Node.js installed, which includes the Node package manager. Or you could use any of the following, like Brew, Homebrew, or something similar. But for me, I personally use npm install g Sass. The G just stands for global. I hit enter and this will run and install Sass for you. And once that is done, we'll be able to continue on with the video. Okay, once that's installed, we want to go over to our... Well, we want to create a new project, right? So let's come out of this. Let's cd into your project file. What we got here. So we're going to say make the, and I'm just going to say day 61, and I'm going to say JS slider. Hit enter and then cd into day 61. Alright, now we're here. I'm going to create a new directory and call this one the actual slider. CD into slider, and this thing. I'm going to open this up in VS Code, which is my preferred text editor of choice. And I'm also going to stop this here. Oh, hello. I'm going to stop this here and close that. And then going to move this to my right side of the screen. So I'm just setting up the my windows here. So I'm going to move this over here, go to project slider, and I'm going to move this in position here. I'm going to make this slightly bigger, and I'm going to actually make this bigger because I don't want it to be small. It could be any size. Actually, yeah, we'll start off with mobile and then we'll do the more bigger versions. All right, so to start with, we need a few files. The first one being index.html. And inside index.html, we just want some boilerplate code. So I'm going to do this exclamation mark, hit tab, come over and call this JavaScript slider. CSR, yeah, well, whatever, it's whatever. And I'm going to add a link, and this is going to be equal to main.css. And then a script as well, a script source, which is going to be equal to main.js. All right, now we've got those in place, let's add those files. So first things first, I want to create a main.sass, and this is going to basically just includes a few reset styles quickly, so some margin and some padding of 0. But we want to compile this, so I'm going to press Ctrl, Alt and T to open up my integrated terminal in VS Code. And I'm going to write in here Sass, and then I'm going to write the file, so main.css, and I'm going to put a colon, and I'm going to write main, or sorry, this should be Sass, and this should be the output. So this is what we want to compile, and this is where it's going to be compiled to. So let's hit enter, and that did compile it. As you can see here, it's now compiled with the map and everything. But I actually want to watch this. So if we do -- watch, this is going to basically means every time we edit this file, it's going to update this file here. So now if you see, if I close this and I write in here background, and we'll set this to a light gray, hit save, and we go into our main.sass, as you'll see, it's automatically updated for us, which is great. And the final file, we want to add in is main.js. And we don't have to write anything in there. We can write console.log script connect script enabled and save that. And now we need to run our surface. So in our terminal, we want to run. I have something called. So you want to install something called npm -i-g live surfer. Hit enter and let that run, and then you'll be able to run what I do here. So I'm going to say live surfer, and I'm just going to hit enter, and this is going to run a def surfer for me. So this actually going to update every single time we make a change. If I put in here hello world and hit an exclamation mark, actually it auto updates for me. So that is really useful, and we should all do that. So first things first, let's set up the markup. So what we need in this project is a page wrapper. And inside the page wrapper, we're going to have a header with the class of header, and then a h1 with the class of header underscore title. And in here, I'm going to give it, we're going to call this JavaScript, and then I'm going to add a span, and I'm going to call this slider. You can name it whatever you want, style it up however you like. This is just how I want my project. And I'm going to have a main, not a mian, a main.main. I know how good naming structure here. A main.main element, and then inside that I'm going to have a slider diff. And then I'm going to create another diff called slider underscore buttons. And we're going to have two buttons. I'm going to say dot slider underscore button, one with pref, and let's copy this and say this one's going to be equal to next. And in here, I'm just going to use, I'm not going to use any icons or anything. I'm not going to bring in a library to this. I'm just going to use the less than and greater than HTML symbols. So as you can see, they are right here. And finally, I'm just going to add a, you know, we don't need it. I was going to add a footer, but I don't think we need it. I'll just leave it out for this one. I think it works. You don't even need the header. We could hide the header if we really wanted to. Okay, so now we've got those elements. Let's go through and explain what's going to happen here. So we have this header. This does absolutely nothing for the actual functionality or slider of the page. It's just there to show you can have a header or anything. You can do whatever you want with this. You can put this section, this main, into a different frame, such as like a different cube or square, and it will work just the same. This slider element is basically going to be our actual slider. And then these slider buttons are going to be the buttons you click to navigate between the different slides. And basically what we're going to do is in JavaScript, we're going to have an array of objects, which are going to be our projects. And we are going to basically append those inside of here as a .project, project for it. And it's basically going to just act as our, or this will be actually a slide, and these will be every single one of our slide, which is going to be animated in CSS and also animated in, well, with the functionality coming from JavaScript. So let's move on. So now we've got that, let's style up the header in that first. So let's give this a font family. So we're going to say font family. And I'm just going to use Roboto because I have it installed on my machine and I don't want to bring through a library, or not a library, a font from Google Fonts or anything like that. I just want to use a font I have which doesn't look ugly. We're going to use page, and it's going to be set to 100 vertical width and 100, sorry, not vertical. I say that every time, viewport. It stands for viewport width and viewport height. We're going to display this as a flex item, and I'm going to have the flex flow of column because I want it to act like columns. And then we're going to add the header, and I'm going to say width 100 VW, height of 60 pixels. We could say percent here actually. And we're going to display this item as flex2. And we're going to justify content center and align item center. So this is just going to center the title. As you can see there, it's centered this title inwards. let's add a background color to it. So we'll say background and we'll give it a 171717. It's sorted. And well, we don't need a box shadow. Let's add in a title, give the color of my favorite yellow, the font size of 28 pixels and a font weight of 900. We're then going to get the span inside of it and give that a font weight of 300 because we want it to be contrasting. There we go. So that is the style of our header, and that is all we need for our header file. Next up, we just want to get the main and we want to flex one. So we want this. So what flex one does is, if I open up my terminal here and we inspect, as you can see, the main now takes up the whole area of this page. So the header takes up exactly 60 pixels in height, but then the header, now because we've added flex one, will take up the remaining space inside of this element. And that's why we added flex one. Let's also add to this overflow scroll. Hit save, and for now, that's going to do nothing. We now want to, oh, that's not where we put that. Let's bring that inside of this. And we want to modify the slider styles. We're going to add the position of relative, and we're going to add a transform equal to translate y, and it's going to be minus 100%. Sorry, no, we're not. That's for the actual slide. We want to say overflow hidden. Width is going to be equal to 100%, and height is going to be equal to 100%. If we hit save, that's going to do nothing because we have nothing in there. And we're going to style up everything right now, even though we don't even have a slide yet. So let's add a slide. So this is how it's going to work. We're going to have a slide and the, oh, sorry, this is going to be slider underscore slide. And each one of these will have an active, and this will be called active. We'll then have the rest which are not active, which will be inactive. And we'll have a few of those. And if we hit save, actually, these are our slides. These are going to be each and every one of our slide elements. And we need to style those up. So let's give it a width, height, and that of 100% each. Although they're not really doing that right now. Useful. Overflow hidden. Oh, this isn't actually, I haven't actually added in the styles yet, so I can't actually complain. So we're going to give this a position of absolute. We're going to say transform, actually, we're going to say left 0. We're going to say width of 100% and height of 100%. Overflow is going to be hidden. Opacity, again, it's going to be 0, and this is because we're going to animate it in with a slight fade effect. We're then going to add a transition, and we're just going to target the transform property, and we're going to set that to 0.5 seconds ease in out. And then we're going to target the opacity with the similar but as linear. And then we want to add the background position to be whatever position you feel more comfortable with. I'm going to do center, and I'm going to say background size, and I'm going to set this to cover. So what's happening here is each element, as you can see, they're all hidden right now, which they're all opacity 0. And then above left, we're going to add a transform, and we're going to say translate y, and we're going to say minus 100% to get them off screen completely. So now those elements have completely gone off screen and we can't actually see them or use them. And the reason we're moving them off screen is because that's how we're going to animate them back in. And we don't want to use the top position. We don't want to say top minus 100% because this will cause us performance issues in the long run. Translate is better to use than using position elements. Okay, now we've got past that, let's add in the slider underscore content. And this isn't going to be in the little bit we've just added, but you'll see what this does later on. Actually, you know, because we're going to show that later on, we're not even going to edit. We're just going to leave that like that for now, and we'll edit that. We'll come back to that. That's something soon. We want to add in now the ans.active class. So now if it is active, we want to say the opacity is equal to 1, and the transform / translate y is equal to 0%. Now if we hit save, you'll see the active comes back into view, but none of the inactives come into view. Because say it's still hidden, but this one is active. So now if we edit this and we remove the active, actually that slides away. If we come in here and we add active to this one, as you can see, the inactive one just slided in because it became active. Again, we can slide it away, and let's change this one to have a class of active as well, and actually it slides in. So you can see the animation is already working because the text is sliding in and sliding out as soon as we remove that active class. And that is what we wanted. Now let's style up our button. So outside of this, we're going to say underscore buttons. We're going to give it a position of absolute and a C index of 999 because we want it to always be on top of all our elements so they don't get hidden if an image goes above them. So we're going to say top 50%. We're going to translate Y, and we're going to set this equal to minus 50%. And the reason we're doing that is because if you just add 50%, it adds it 50% from the top of the elements. So this wouldn't actually be in the center, this would be just below the center. But if you add translate Y minus 50%, it basically takes half of the height and it brings it up by half the height basically. So that will perfectly center it to the center of our screen. We then want to say the width needs to be equal to 100%. We're going to add some padding of 15 pixels and just to fix so it doesn't go off screen, we're going to add a box sizing of border box. We're then going to display as flex, and we're going to justify content with space between. Now, if we hit save, as you can see, the buttons are already now in position where they should be. But this isn't everything. We want to actually now update a slider button, and we're going to give it a width of 35 pixels and a height of the same. I'm then going to set the color equal to my yellow color, and we're going to set the font size equal to 20 pixels, line height equal to 35 pixels, and the text align equal to center. We're going to have the font weight as 300, a border radius of 50%, a background of none, and a border of 1 pixel solid, and this is again going to be my yellow color. Now if I hit save, as you can see, these buttons are now styled up. The reason I went through and I added in the border radius 50% is to make it round. The background none is so there's no default background on that. Then we added the line height and the width and height to be the same thing, because this is basically defining where everything should be positioned, the width and the height of it, of course. The color is yellow because I'm, just yellow. And text align center, because if we don't have text align center, as you can see, the icon sits to the left. And the reason I'm using font weight 300 because it kind of matches the actual outline here. And now, finally, we want to add a cursor anyway of pointer because we want it to act like it's a pointer. And we're going to add a transition property, which is going to be set to the background of 0.2 seconds linear, and then the color of 0.2 seconds, which is going to be ease out. We're then going to have a hover state where we change the background to a yellow and the color to our dark gray. If we hit save and now we hover, there you go. We get the fade in and out effect with the button to show which one is highlighted. And that is all we need for the styling for now. So next up, we want to actually style the rest of the slider, or should I say we want to add the functionality in. So this stuff all here is already adding the functionality in to the page. So the ones we currently don't want to see are hidden for the slides, and the one we want to see is active. But we don't want that. So let's go here and let's delete all these elements here, these slider elements. And let's dynamically create them in JavaScript. So inside of JavaScript, we want to basically get a few elements. We want to get the next button. We will set that equal to document.querySelector, and this is going to be equal to the next ID. We're also going to get the previous button, and we're getting a previous button so we can go back. We're then going to get the whole slider element, and we're just going to, for now, we're going to use query selector, and we're just going to get the dot slider, and this is going to return the first element with the class of slider on it. We're then going to say let first slide, and we're just going to set that equal to nothing for now. And we're going to set last slide as well. And these are going to be used so we know what is our first and last slide, so we can update our app. So let's say if we get to the last slide and we click next, we need to know what our first slide is so it can go back to the first slide. And these will be equal to node elements on the page. So the slide element from the page. Next up, we need to set up the projects, which is going to be our array of objects, so our array of projects. And each project is going to have a title, which is going to have, for the first one, project 1. It's going to have a type, which is equal to website. I'm going to have some content, which I'm going to do as some lorem 50. Oh, that doesn't work here, so let me just copy and paste some lorem ipsum from somewhere else. There we go, and it's going to have an image, and I already have images inside of my, oh I don't, I thought I did. We need to add some images inside here, and we're going to have images, and first one's going to be called slide1.jpg, and so forth. So let's copy this, and we're going to have 3 slides. We have project 1, 2, and 3. Second one's going to be an app, and the third one is going to be a game, just because mix it up a little. And this is going to be slide 2, and this final one's going to be slide 3. I'm now going to go and get some images for this app. So let's see if this allows me to paste them straight into here. So if I hit, no it doesn't. Okay, I'm going to have to open up this. Can I open this up in Finder? Find it in Finder. Oh, no, not like that. That's not what I meant. I want to open in Finder. Can I open in Finder? Reveal in Finder. There it is. I was looking for the wrong thing. So now in images, let's hit paste, and that is going to add in all our images, which are lovely muscle cars. We've got a Dodge Charger, a Camaro, and a Mustang. Let's close that. So now we've got them, and these now have relevant links. Okay, so we've got that now. We've got our projects, we've got our buttons, and our slider element. We now need to add in each slide to this app. And to do that, we're going to get all the projects, and we're going to say for each. And basically, we're going to deconstruct each one using title, type, content, and image, just so we don't have to write out project.title, project.type, project.content, and project.image every single time we create one. So now, sorry, I had to yawn there. Now let's create a new slide, and this is going to be the actual slide element. So let's call this document.createElement, and there's going to be a div, and then we're going to say slide.classlist.add, and this one's going to have slider __ slide, and then I believe we can add in here as well active, but we don't want to add it to this one actually, we just want it to be slider slide. We then can say slide.style. Also, by the way guys, we need to bring in the index here so we know which index it is we're working with, and we're going to say .background image, and we're going to set this equal to a URL, which in here we're going to add in a variable which is equal to image. So we have the slide, we're adding a class of slider __ slide like we did in the HTML, and then we're adding a background image to this of background, or of the same as the image here. We then want to check if it's equal to 0. So if this element is the first slide, so we're going to say first slide is equal to slide. So if I is equal to 0, which means it's the first in the array, we then want to say it equal to the first slide. We then want to say slide.classList.add, and we want to say active, because this would be the first slide is normally the active slide. And then we also want to check if, so we're going to say else, else if I plus 1 is equal to projects.length. And the reason we're adding 1 to this is because projects.length starts from 1. So if we had 5 projects, this would be equal to 5. But the index we're calling up here, is equal to starts at 0, which means it will be out of sync with the project's length by 1. So that is why, so 5, if we had 5 in this, on the 5th project, this will be equal to 4, because it will be 1 behind. That's why we're adding 1. And now we would just want to set the last slide equal to slide. So that's where these first and last slides come from, and we'll use those later on in the video. We're going to now get the slide content. So before we didn't use the content, but in this one we're going to add in slide content, and it's going to be called document.createElement, and we're going to call it a diff. We're going to say slide content, and we're going to set the class.add, and we're going to give this slider__ content. Now inside slider content, actually again, we don't need this just yet. Let's keep this out because I kind of want to add it in last. I want to add it in when we get around to adding it in. So now that's done, we just want to say slider.append child, and we're going to say slide. Hit save, and there we go. We've got our elements, but we can only see one, and that is the active slide. So now we want to hook up our button. So when we click these, it goes back and forwards between different slides. So let's close that so we can see a full screen width of this for now. And let's start up with creating the next button. So let's get the next button, and we're going to say add event listener, and it's going to be click. We're then going to set an arrow function, and we're going to say const active slide is equal to document.querySelector, and we're going to say .slider__slide.active. So what we're saying here is we want to get the active slide, and to do that we're going to say every time we click the button we're going to find what the current active slide is. So for example, this would be slide 1. So we're going to look for every slide which has the active class on it. We're then going to say let sibling, which is going to be the next sibling, and we're going to set this equal to active slides dot next element sibling, and this is going to get the next sibling in the array, which is an element and not a text element. If you just did next sibling, that would get a text element or piece of white space you've left in the code, which wouldn't look so good, and it will break your code. But instead we're going to say next sibling get active slide, and then we're going to get the next element sibling, and that's basically just going to act as a thing. I mean, this can be a const as well, I believe, so it doesn't need to be, we're not changing it along the way, or do we? Oh, actually, you know what, we will change this if so. For now, let's remove that and let's go in here. So we're going to say if sibling dot class list dot contains, so we're checking if the sibling contains a slider class. So if it's actually a slide, we then want to say active slide dot class list dot remove, and we're going to say active, so it's no longer the active slide. And then we're going to say next sibling dot class list dot add, and we're going to say active. Now we're going to hit save, and that should be it. So if we hit the next button, as you can see, it moves on to the next slide. So let's make this a bit bigger so you can see the full thing. And now if we hit the next button, it goes on to the next one. But now if we hit next again, nothing happens. And if we open up our console, you can see we've got an error because it's saying cannot read property class list of null. And that is because this element here, next sibling, is not grabbing the actual buttons or the actual next sibling because there isn't enough a sibling after or enough a project after this last project. So we need to add in a case to check if we're at the last one, the last element. And if we're at the last element, we're going to basically go back to the first element. But to do that, we're going to do it slightly different. We're going to actually just check if the next sibling is equal to null. And if it is, we're going to say next sibling is equal to the first slide. And that is all we need to do. So now if we go along and along again and along again, as you can see, the next sibling is actually the first slide. And then we can keep going around now and consistently go through. The only issue is now we need to actually need to go backwards. So to do that, we're going to copy the exact same code and paste it underneath. And we're going to say this is equal to prev button. And instead of next element sibling, we're going to say previous element sibling. And this next sibling here is actually going to be equal to last slide. And if we hit save and go back, nothing happens. But if we go forward and then go back, as you see, it goes back. If we go forward and then back again, it works. The reason this isn't working here is a mystery to me. Let's figure it out. What did I miss? So we'll check if sibling is equal to null. If it is, then we're going to say sibling is equal to last slide. And we then want to say active slide.classList .remove active, and the next sibling.class is equal to active. So this should work, but I feel like I've missed something completely here. Let's add a log in here, log, and we're going to say next sibling. We just want to see what the next sibling is. So let's go backwards, and the next sibling is the buttons. So there we go. So this is the error here. So because in our elements console, if you look in our page, main, slider, our first one is this, but the one before, so the element before this is equal to buttons, and that is an issue. So our next sibling isn't equal to null, but it isn't equal to a slide. So what we need to do is say or, so if it's next sibling, or if next sibling.classList.contains or doesn't contain, because we have a not operator there, and we're going to say slider __ slide. Now if we hit save and we go back, as you can see, it now works perfectly. We can go backwards and forwards. So the issue we had was the fact it was getting the buttons, and the buttons enter slide, so it's not going back and nothing's actually working. And that's why we do the check here if next sibling.classList.contain slider, else it would error for us, and we don't want it to error. Okay, sorry about that. So now that is done. The actual slider part of this is done. As you can see, you can go forward and we can go backwards, and that is all the slider needs. And we can add in, for example, we can add in more images and projects and stuff. So this can be project 4, and this could use a different image. I don't actually have a different image, so I'm actually going to remove the just say 4, and this should actually give us no image. If we go 1, 2, 3, there you go, but it's nothing there. But this is actually our 4th project we've added in, and we'll be able to tell that that's our 4th project, even though it hasn't got a background image, which we will get. So basically this is it here, so our slider content, and we need to basically do this now. So let's get in here and get some slider content. So we've got slide content and we've set the class list here. We then basically want to say our content __ title, so the title we are going to set is equal to an element, and this element is going to be a heading tag of the size of 3, the heading 3. And we'll no, we need content title, and we want to add a class list or class of slider underscore title. We then want to say the same thing, but the text content is equal to title. So we pass through our title, type, and content all up here, and this is basically what we're adding in. We then want the content underscore type, and again this is going to be equal to a document dot create element, and this is going to be equal to a span, and the content type dot text content is going to be equal to type. Finally, for the elements, we just need to create content. Also, these should just be singular. I don't know why I keep doing them as double. They can be single. And then content. So the content's content, we're going to say document dot create element, and this is going to be a diff. And we're just going to say content dot class list dot add slider underscore description. We're then going to say content dot text content. God, I'm saying content a lot, my head is going to explode. And we're going to set this equal to, can you guess, content. Whew. Now if we save this, nothing's going to happen. Nothing additional is going to be added to our screen because we need to append these to each other. And this can get complex if you build big structures, but for this one it's quite simple. We just want to say content underscore title dot append child, and we want to add in this content type, which has a span, which is this span, element. We then want to say slide underscore content, and we want to actually append a child, and this is going to be content underscore title. Oh, and this needs not to be strings. These need to be the actual variables. So we want to do the same here, but instead of title, it's going to be content underscore content. And now we want to say the whole slide is going to have this content or slide underscore content. And finally, we want to say, oh no, we've done the slider. Sorry, I was going to say we want to add in the slider. So now if we hit save and we go back, as you can see, this information is here. So if we go next, it's up there still, app 2 or project 2, project 3, and here we have project 4. So as I said, it does show up, it's just not right. Now we want to add the styling to this. So let's go to our main Sass, and as we said before, underneath or inside the slide component, just before the active, we want to say slider underscore content, and we're basically going to write some style. So we're going to instantly set the position to absolute. We're going to set the width equal to 100%, oh not 200%, Jesus, 100%, because we want to take up the whole width. We're going to set the max width to 600 pixels. So this means on desktop, its max width is going to be 600 pixels, and on a phone, it will just be 100% of the width it can take up. We're going to set top equal to 0 pixels, and because we want it at the top, and we're going to set the padding equal to 15 pixels. We're then going to set a box sizing of border box to keep everything inside, and we're going to have a background which is going to be equal to an RGBA value of 0, 0, 0, 0.35, or I'm going to say 0.4. I'm then going to say transition, and this is going to just be the transform property of 0.2 seconds linear 0.5 second delay. So we want to wait until the actual slider has entered before we do anything else. Let's hit save. And let's add a color of white. Everything is white in here. There we go. And there we go. So now if we go next and next, you can see nothing's actually happening. There's no errors. It's always there. It's not like it's off screen. and that's because we need to add in a translate property here, or transform translate, and this is going to be equal to x. I'm going to say it's minus 100%, and now these are going to be disappeared. So if we go next, 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 nothing, it's not going to be there. And the reason is because we need to basically add in when we've got the class of active on our parent, it's then going to slide this in. So let's go back into slider content and let's add a media query. It's a media screen and min width, because I want to change that, min width of 600 pixels, and this is going to have a border radius of 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 50 pixels, 0 pixels. So now if we go back, let's remove this transform. As you can see, it's got a little curly bit, or a little rounded area on the bottom right of the thing. It just makes it look less flat and less boxy. Again, let's undo the unhide. And finally in here, we're going to add a slider title with a span in it, which is going to be equal to display block and a font weight of 300. And the reason we're doing that is, again, let me unhide it. It means this goes onto its own line. So if I undo this, if I comment this out and hit save, as you can see, it's on the same line, and we don't want that. We want it to be on its own line underneath the title, and that is why I've done that. So now we need to animate it in. So once the class is active, so once this has an active class, we want to say dot slider underscore content, and we're just going to say transform translate x is equal to 0%. Hit save, and now if we go to the next one and the next one, nothing is happening, and that is because, what did I do? I need to comment this back in. So now if I go next, as you can see, it slides in after 0.5 seconds, half a second, and there you go. Project 4 now has one as well. We just need an image for it. And that is how we create a dynamic JavaScript slider that this information can be passed through from anywhere. So these projects can be passed through from a RESTful API, it can be passed through Firebase, a Node.js server, PHP server, or any of the above. Any sort of server which can pass through JSON or arrays and stuff like that can basically hold your information, and then you can just change this out to be a function that waits for your projects to load, and then we'll go next, and everything should work. So quite simple, but also has some complex features to it. Let me know what you thought about this tutorial. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something new, let me know in the description, or the comment section, sorry. And if you did enjoy it and you learned something new, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. If you want to see more and learn more, then hit that subscribe button. And if you also hit the bell, you'll be notified as soon as a new video goes live, like this one, but as soon as it goes live. Other than that, if you have any comments or feedback, leave it in the comment section below, or join our Discord server. And thanks for watching, everyone. Peace out.
Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along.